So time is flying by because it's officially been 9 months since the iPhone 15 was released. We're more than halfway into the cycle, which means iPhone 16 is on the horizon. And so I thought I'd update you guys on how the experience has been with this device in terms of long-term usage and whether you should buy this or wait for the next iPhone. So let's begin with the design, and obviously as someone who's primarily been using the 6.7 inch size in the past, I was glad to downsize and return to the 6.1 inch form factor. As soon as I picked up the iPhone 15, the size just felt right. And of course, I've had 6.1 inch iPhones in the past, but the slightly curvier corners do make a difference when caseless. I should reiterate though, this really only applies when caseless, because for the majority of consumers using a case, you likely won't see much of a difference in terms of in-hand feel. However, I am someone who likes to occasionally live life on the edge and actually use the iPhone 12 for a year caseless. Now, ceramic sure do not age as well, to be fair, because literally the air can scratch it. But I've been using the 15 cases whenever possible because it just feels like this phone has to be used without a case to fully appreciate the design. Now, I did leave the screen guard on because, as I said, I don't trust ceramic shields, but the overall body of the device has no dents or scratches. And what's also nice about the design is that now, because the edges are slightly round on the device, the seam between the glass and aluminium rails is so flush, it feels like a one-piece design similar to the iPhone 5C. It's really quite nice. Honestly, it's been a long time since I've just taken a minute to stare at my new iPhone and appreciate the design. Heck, I'm slowly becoming like Johnny Ives at this point. But really, this is one very nice looking device. For many years, we've wanted an aluminium regular iPhone to have a matte finish, and now that we have it, especially in matte black, it's a very classy device. I am absolutely in love with the design, and dare I say this looks even better than the Pros, because unlike titanium, the aluminium rails don't pick up as many fingerprints, and so it's just matte everywhere, which is very nice. Moving to the camera, my sole complaint from my initial review stands: what stops this phone from being a 10 out of 10 in my opinion is not the lack of 120Hz. In fact, I really don't care about that. It's the fact this has the same ultra-wide as the iPhone 11. Yes, a phone that came out 4 bloody years ago. Apple, come on, it's about time you give the basic iPhones a better ultra-wide, because I do use macro occasionally for B-roll on the 14 Pro Max, and so I'm kinda gutted it's not here, but it's not a massive deal breaker. But you know what would be a deal breaker? If you finish this video without subscribing, of course. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'll bring you the latest about Apple right to subscription box, so please consider it. The button is below. We're trying to hit our next milestone of 16,000 subscribers, so join the Cerambyte gang now. Anyways, let's talk about the overall camera experience, because apart from the somewhat disappointing ultra-wide, everything else 9 months later is still pretty awesome. Beginning with the main lens, it's 48 megapixels. I know the shots have been binned down to 24 megapixels, but you do definitely pick up on the additional detail with the 15 sensor compared to older iPhones. But the biggest thing I've appreciated 9 months down the line is the overall polish the 15's camera has. Smart HDR5 makes a big difference because for the last 2 years, we've been complaining about Smart HDR4 on the 13 and 14 and how they produced over-processed photos that would sometimes look like hot garbage. And so as soon as you use the 15, you do notice skin tones and colors are much more realistic and lifelike, and I'm glad to report that after several updates, there's been no changes with the HDR algorithm, in case some of you guys are worrying it's gotten worse as we get closer to iPhone 16's release. Also, something I still appreciate are next-gen portraits. Now, the portrait mode itself isn't radically different, but the new thing here is the 15 automatically collects the data needed for portrait modes, and so you can now turn most photos into portrait in post, and that has been very clutch for the last few months. I surprisingly don't miss a telephoto lens when using the 15, since remember the 48 megapixel main sensor allows for a 2x crop, and this actually is as good as a dedicated telephoto lens, and so I'm happy with this. I really don't need more zoom than what this offers. The 5x on the 15 Pro Max is very nice, don't get me wrong, but there's no need to pay $400 more just to get that. And the cherry on top for me has to be video, and how it comes out excellently on the 15 without me really having to do anything. That's great for a creator like myself, since I prioritize efficiency. I don't want to be fussing around with camera settings. Selfies also look solid on this, and one advantage the 15 has over my 14 Pro Max is the focus distance with the main lens. I've always complained that I had to rely on the macro feature for close objects on the 14 Pro, but because the 15 main sensor is smaller, it doesn't struggle as much, and so you can bring objects closer to it. And frankly, because I can't tell much of a difference between these sensors, I'd much rather have the smaller sensor that has no focus issues. Moving on to the display, I'm sure many are going to mention, how can you live with a 60Hz iPhone in 2024, bro? It's a scam. But 9 months later, I still don't care about this. I can easily look past the refresh rate, and the same goes for the lack of an always-on display. If anything, Apple's brought over the best part about the Pro iPhones, which is the excellent brightness. This has 1000 nits of brightness for typical usage, 1600 nits for HDR content, and a whopping 2000 nits of brightness for outdoor use, just like the 14 and 15 Pros. And the outdoor brightness especially is a game changer. It makes these phones viewable in sunlight, and I've not picked up on any major overheating issues when it's pumping out 2000 nits of brightness, so this very much is a useful upgrade. The island also has been occasionally useful. When I order something on Uber Eats, the island gives me a status, which is pretty neat, but that's about it for its usefulness. It was a tad overhyped, I can't lie. Anyways, another thing I still love about the 15 is the endurance. Apple on their site actually claims the Pro phones have much longer endurance in terms of video playback, but to be honest, when it comes to regular usage, the regular models destroy the Pro models, and that's very much been the case for me. I've been getting 8 hours of screen on time. My health is still at 99% thankfully, but of course I will be watching out for my battery stats because I remember how fast my 14 Pro Max went from 99 to 93 in the span of 2 months. So here's hoping that does not happen with the 15. There are other aspects of this device that I won't cover in huge detail, but I do want to quickly mention. I don't think I've cared once this has USB-C because I use wireless chargers, and I was actually fine with Lightning for the most part. It's also why the USB 2.0 speeds don't bother me. Performance is solid, it's an iPhone. When was the last time an iPhone was slow? 6 gigs of RAM is plenty, apps stay in the background, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and 5G performance have all been solid, and speakers and mics have been excellent, and here's a sample for you guys. So in a nutshell, to no one's surprise, 9 months later, I still love the iPhone 15, especially compared to last year where I was having a buggy mess with iOS 16 on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. iOS 17 has been pretty stable, I haven't come across many bugs, and so this is one of the better iPhone generations for me. It's not the most exciting phone in the world, but it's certainly well-rounded. And that does bring me to the other question I proposed at the beginning, which is, should you wait for iPhone 16? And well, my answer is going to be a bit of a cop-out, but it really does depend. The 16s don't seem hugely exciting. There's going to be a new camera module and a new button, which are kinda meh changes. However, do note the regular 16s will be skipping the A17, and they're getting the A18 for new AI features. But if you're not too interested in all this AI malarkey, the 15 is consistently on sale for much less than retail price nowadays. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.